The café hadn't changed much. Same flickering light above the counter, same hum of the espresso machine that always sounded a little tired. Even the smell, burnt sugar and wet pavement, felt like it had been waiting for me. I wasn't supposed to be there that morning. I'd only come back to return a book I borrowed months ago. But when I saw her through the glass, sitting at the corner table with her hands wrapped around a mug, my steps slowed. Mara. She looked the same and not. Hair a bit shorter, maybe darker. Still tucked behind her ear the way she always did when she was trying to hide that she was nervous. I stood there too long, pretending to check my phone. My thumb hovered over a half-written text from last night, one I never sent. Just another apology I didn't know how to word. When I finally walked in, the bell over the door startled her. Or maybe it startled me more. Eli, she said after a beat. My name landed softly, like she was testing if it still fit. Hey. I smiled, or tried to. Didn't think I'd see you here. I come here sometimes, she said. Still can't make coffee this good at home. That made me laugh, quietly. She always used humor to fill the small silences, and I used to love that about her. Today, though, it only reminded me how long it had been since I'd heard her voice. I ordered the same thing I used to, black coffee, no sugar, and sat 2 tables away. Not beside her. Not yet. She glanced up once, maybe twice. I couldn't tell if it was invitation or reflex. There was a manila envelope on her table. It had the kind of weight that wasn't just paper. She kept adjusting it, sliding it closer then farther away. Her fingers trembled just enough for me to notice. You're still doing the sketches? She asked. Trying to, I said. Clients are quiet these days. That's the world now, she murmured. Quiet. The silence after that wasn't awkward. It was full, like something unsaid was standing between us, breathing slowly. She finished her coffee and started folding the napkin in half. Then in half again. Her thumb traced the crease carefully. You still fold napkins when you're thinking, I said before I could stop myself. She looked up, eyes soft, caught. And you still notice? I smiled. Old habits. Her laugh was brief, but it warmed something in me I'd forgotten was there. Then her phone buzzed. Just once. Her eyes flicked down, and everything about her changed, shoulders stiff, lips pressed tight. She turned the screen over without answering. I should go, she said. Already? She nodded, standing slowly, slipping the envelope into her bag. Take care of yourself, Eli. She was halfway to the door when she stopped, looked back, and said something I almost didn't catch. Don't stop trying. And then she was gone. I sat there long after, staring at the chair she'd left empty. My phone vibrated once, a new message. It was from her. Can we talk? Somewhere quiet. Tonight. I didn't move for a full minute. Just sat there, coffee cooling, the sound of the rain starting again outside. I didn't know it then, but that text, that single line, was the beginning of everything I'd been waiting for. And the beginning of everything I shouldn't have. It rained that night, the kind of rain that makes the world sound like it's whispering. I waited in my car outside her apartment building, the engine running low, headlights cutting faint streaks through the mist. She lived above a small flower shop now. The window lights were soft, golden. I could see her shadow moving inside, slow, deliberate. Like she was thinking about letting me in, and thinking again. When she finally opened the door, she didn't smile. But she didn't look away either. Come in, she said quietly. Her apartment smelled like chamomile and old books. There was music playing from a speaker, barely audible, something instrumental, hesitant. She poured tea into 2 mismatched mugs and handed me one. I noticed her hands shaking slightly, even though her voice was steady. I almost didn't text you, she said. Didn't think you'd answer. I almost didn't, I admitted. But then I remembered how you hate being left without an answer. She smiled at that, a slow, reluctant smile that made my chest tighten. We sat across from each other at her small kitchen table. The steam from our mugs curled between us like something alive. "How long has it been?" she asked. 3 years, I said. "Since I moved out." "Feels longer." It did. Back then, I was just her tenant, the quiet guy who paid rent late and sometimes left sketchbooks drying on the balcony. But even then, something was forming. A current neither of us wanted to name. Now, sitting here, the air between us felt heavier with everything we hadn't said. She took a slow sip of tea. "You were always good at disappearing, Eli. I thought you wanted me to," I said. "I thought so too." She looked at her hands. "Then you left, and I kept hearing your shoes in the hallway for weeks after." I didn't know what to say. I wanted to tell her I used to walk past her window at night, pretending I was just passing by. That sometimes I'd stop to see if her light was still on. But I didn't. Instead, I said, "You were married then?" She nodded. "Was." The word hung there. Past tense, but still waited. Her ex-husband, I'd met him once, in the stairwell. Cold handshake, polite nod. He was older, distant. The kind of man who thought silence meant control. And me? I was the tenant, too young, too quiet, too wrong. "Does he know you texted me?" I asked. She met my eyes for the first time that night. "He doesn't know anything anymore." It wasn't anger in her tone. It was exhaustion. We sat in that silence for what felt like a long time. The rain softened against the windows. I watched the drops slide down the glass, tracing a slow, uncertain path, like it didn't know where to stop. When I looked back, she was watching me. Her gaze didn't flinch, didn't search. Just stayed. And then, as she reached across the table to take my empty mug, her fingers brushed mine, barely a touch, a mistake maybe. But I felt it all the way up my arm. Neither of us moved. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. I would think later. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. The next morning, I tried to go back to routine, sketching, making coffee, pretending the night before hadn't happened. But her presence lingered like the smell of rain on clothes. Every brush stroke felt off. Every silence too loud. By evening, I was outside the flower shop again. No reason. Just walking past, or that's what I told myself. Through the glass, I saw her rearranging white lilies in a tall vase. Her movements were slow, deliberate, like she was hiding her thoughts in the way she placed each stem. She noticed me. Didn't smile, but she didn't turn away either. She just tilted her head, the smallest gesture, like she was asking, "Why are you here?" I shrugged. She unlocked the door. Inside, it smelled like soil and something sweet I couldn't name. The air was thick with that strange familiarity, the kind you don't realize you've missed until it's there again. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "Probably not," I answered. She looked tired. The kind of tired that lives behind the eyes. There was dirt under her nails. She rubbed her palms together, as if trying to erase it. "Long day?" I asked. "Every day feels long lately." The silence between us wasn't empty, it pulsed. I watched her fix the petals that didn't need fixing. My hands itched to help, but I didn't move. Then, from the back door, a voice, muffled male. "Mara? You need me to lock up?" I froze. She didn't turn around. "No, it's fine," she called back quickly. "You can go." The door shut. Footsteps faded. She sighed, pressing her palm to her forehead. "That's Jacob. He helps out sometimes. My neighbor." The pause before neighbor lingered too long. I nodded, pretending to believe it. "Right." She finally met my eyes. "Eli, whatever this is, it can't happen again." I didn't answer. My throat felt tight. "I'm not who I was," she said. "And you're still figuring out who you are." "Maybe," I said quietly. "But I still know what I felt." She closed her eyes for a second, like she wanted to erase the space between us with a blink. The clock on the wall ticked, too loud, too steady. The air felt suspended. I reached out, just a reflex, to take the lily she was holding. Our fingers brushed again. Her breath caught. This time, neither of us pulled away. For a moment, I thought she might step closer. Thought maybe she wanted to. Her lips parted just slightly, as if she might say something, or something else. Then her phone buzzed. Again. She flinched, dropped the flower. The screen lit her face, and whatever she saw there made her expression go blank. "I have to go," she whispered. "Mara." But she was already moving toward the back room, shoulders tight, voice gone. The lily lay on the floor between us, one petal torn. I stared at it too long, like it might tell me what she was hiding. And outside, the rain started again, soft, persistent, as if repeating something I hadn't yet understood. A week passed. No messages. No late-night calls. Just silence. Then, one evening, she texted, "Are you still awake?" I was. I always was. We met by the riverside, the quiet part where the street lights barely reached and the benches were always damp. She wore a beige coat, her hair loose for once. I could tell she hadn't planned to see me. She looked like someone who just started walking and ended up here by accident. For a while, we just sat. The city hummed faintly behind us. "Sorry about the other day," she said finally. "I shouldn't have called you. Or asked you to come?" I looked at her. "You did." "I did." Her hands were clasped in her lap, fingers twisting the edge of her sleeve. "And it wasn't fair." "You keep saying what's fair," I said quietly. "But you never say what's true." That stopped her. She exhaled, long and uneven. "Truth," she repeated. "That's complicated." "Then make it simple." She didn't look at me. "Jacob, the man you heard at the shop, he's not my neighbor. He's someone I shouldn't have let get close." I didn't move. The air felt thinner. "So he's?" She nodded. "He's married. And I'm tired of pretending I'm not lonely." She said it flatly, like a confession she'd rehearsed in her head too many times. I wanted to be angry, but what I felt instead was something smaller, disappointment mixed with fear. Not of losing her, but of what I might still want despite knowing better. "You think I don't understand that kind of loneliness?" I said. She glanced at me, almost smiling. "You think it's the same?" "Maybe not," I said. "But it still hurts the same way." The wind shifted. She reached for her scarf, then stopped halfway, as if she'd remembered something. "You were always too kind, Eli," she whispered. "Too open. You made things mean more than they should." "Maybe they did mean more," I said. Her breath caught. "Don't," but I kept talking, softer now. "Every time I saw you, I thought I was imagining it. The way you'd look up when I walked in, the way you'd leave the porch light on. I thought maybe I made all of it up. But then, you'd smile. And I'd think, Eli." She cut in. "Please." Her voice trembled. Not angry. Just breaking. We sat there, both breathing too carefully, like sound might tip something over. "I can't keep doing this," she said finally. "Doing what?" "This." She gestured vaguely between us. "Feeling everything and pretending it's nothing." She looked at me then, really looked, and it felt like standing too close to fire. I reached out, almost without thinking. My hand hovered near hers, barely touching air. She didn't pull away. For a second, the whole world went still, river, street, wind. Just her eyes on mine. Then she whispered, "If you asked me to stay right now, I might say yes." I didn't. I just stared, heart pounding, afraid that if I spoke, everything would fall apart. And maybe it already had. After that night by the river, she disappeared. No messages. No accidental sightings at the café or the flower shop. Just nothing. At first, I told myself she needed space. Then I started believing she changed her number. Eventually, I stopped checking my phone every hour, but never really stopped waiting. 2 weeks later, I passed by the shop again. It was closed early, lights dim. The handwritten back and 10 sign was tilted, the way she used to leave it when she was in a hurry. I almost kept walking. But then I saw her through the back door, not alone. A boy, maybe 6, maybe 7, sat at the counter, drawing on paper napkins. Same dark hair. Same eyes I'd memorized too well. She was laughing softly, kneeling beside him, tying his shoelace. The kind of laugh that didn't sound borrowed or careful. It was real, and it wasn't mine. Something inside me twisted quietly. I walked away before she saw me. That night I couldn't draw. Couldn't even look at my sketchpad without seeing that kid's face. I didn't know she had a son. Or maybe I did, maybe I just never asked. The thought hit me harder than jealousy. How much had I not known about her? The next morning, I went back. Told myself I'd just returned the book she lent me years ago, an excuse thin enough to break under the weight of truth. The bell over the door chimed, soft as always. She looked up, startled. Eli. You weren't at the river, I said before thinking. I wasn't supposed to be. We stood there, either moving. The boy was gone now, probably at school. I placed the old book on the counter. I should have returned it earlier. Her eyes softened. You kept it all this time? I thought it meant something, I said. Guess I was wrong. She didn't respond right away. Instead, she turned toward the flowers, fixing what didn't need fixing again. Eli, I can't keep being someone you wait for, she said finally. You think you love me, but you love a version of me that only exists when we're alone. That's not true, I said. It is, she whispered. Because the rest of me, the one who still picks up her son from school, who still lies to people about who she's seeing, that woman doesn't get to have what you want. Silence. I wanted to say something, anything, but all I could manage was a nod that felt too final. When I left, the sky was pale and empty. The kind of day that doesn't decide what season it belongs to. I opened my phone later, typed a message I'd been writing in my head for days. You don't have to choose me. I just wanted you to know I still would have stayed. But I didn't send it. I stared at the blinking cursor until it stopped. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. It was almost winter when she called again. Her voice on the phone was quiet, careful. Can you come by? I didn't ask why. When I arrived, the flower shop was empty. The shelves were half cleared, cardboard boxes open. The air smelled faintly of dust and old petals. She was sitting on the floor, legs crossed, sorting through things she didn't seem to want to keep. I'm closing the shop, she said without looking up. I nodded. New start? Something like that. There was no music this time, no tea, no pretense. Just us and the echo of everything left unsaid. She pulled out a framed photo from one of the boxes. Her son, maybe 5 years younger. She turned it over, brushed the dust off. He's moving in with his father, she said softly. He wants to go to a school closer to his cousins. It's the right thing. I sat beside her, leaving a small space between us. You sound like you're trying to convince yourself. She smiled, tired. I usually am. We stayed like that, 2 people in a room full of almosts. I saw you that day, I said finally. With him. The boy. I figured. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the same way she always did when she was trying to stay composed. I thought maybe you'd understand why I couldn't call again. I do, I said. I just wish you'd let me understand sooner. She looked at me then, eyes glistening, but steady. You would have stayed, wouldn't you? Yeah. That's what scared me. The honesty in her voice landed harder than any confession. I wanted to ask why fear had to win. But instead, I reached for the photo frame, set it carefully on top of a box. You don't have to run from everything that hurts, I said. She breathed out, almost a laugh. You sound older. I feel it. For the first time in years, she leaned back, resting her head against the wall. Do you ever think about what it could have been? If we'd met later or earlier, when it made sense. All the time, I said. And now? No. I pause. I think it still meant something. Even if it can't be anything. That seemed to break something in her. Not a sob, not tears, just a soft stillness. She reached over, her hand finding mine. No hesitation this time. Her palm was warm, fingers trembling slightly. I'm sorry, she whispered. Me too. We sat there, hand in hand, surrounded by boxes and fading light. When she finally stood, she didn't say goodbye. Just looked at me and gave a small, almost imperceptible smile, the kind that said thank you without words. I nodded back. Okay. That was all we needed. A year later, the café was still there. Same flickering light. Same tired hum from the espresso machine. But everything else had changed, quietly, like time doesn't ask for permission. Mara came in every Tuesday now. Always around 8:47 a.m. She said it was coincidence. I knew better. She still ordered chamomile tea, still sat near the window. Sometimes her son, now taller, louder, stopped by after school to walk her home. He'd nod at me, half smiling, as if he knew something without needing to say it. And me? I still sketched by the window, same corner table, same black coffee cooling faster than I could drink it. Except now, I wasn't waiting for her. She was already there. We didn't talk much about the year we lost. Or the mistakes that lived in between. We just let the silence fill itself. Sometimes she'd bring flowers, not from the shop, she'd sold it months ago. Wildflowers she picked on her walks. She said they were imperfect enough to keep. She'd place them in the middle of the table without a word, and I'd draw them, each stem a small conversation. There was one morning, rain tapping lightly against the glass, when she reached for her mug and brushed my hand. Not deliberate. Just a familiar kind of accident. She smiled. Still drink it black? Still can't make it any better, I said. She laughed quietly, that same soft sound that once stopped me cold. But this time, it didn't hurt. It felt right. I think that's how peace comes, not as an apology or a confession, but as an ordinary morning where nothing aches. Later, as we stepped out, the street smelled like wet concrete and blooming jasmine. She tucked her arm through mine. We walked without rushing, without explaining. Just the small comfort of knowing we didn't have to. At the old riverside bench, we stopped, the same one from that night. It had been repainted brighter now. She sat, running her fingers along the edge of the wood. Strange, she said. How the world keeps going. Even after everything. Maybe that's what it's supposed to do, I said. She nodded. Maybe. We didn't need more than that. The wind carried the rest. For a long time, we just watched the river move, slow, steady, unbothered. And in that quiet, I realized something simple. Love doesn't always arrive with promises or endings. Sometimes it just stays. Different. Smaller. But still warm enough to hold. When she looked at me, I saw the same question she'd once asked, without words. This time, I answered, also without words. She smiled again. That was enough. Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next? Share your thoughts below. Your story might just inspire the next one.